Okay. Now, in this session, we agreed to continue what the inheritance week. We stopped at this point. I need to share with you also the PowerPoint of chapter 10. So I will share it here again. Here we are. Okay. Now, in this chapter, we stopped at the cosmic superclass. What is the cosmic superclass? Actually, a cosmic means it's related to all classes in Java, and this is the superclass called object. This is also, we have explained the object class before. We said that object is a superclass to all Java class libraries. All Java classes, they inherit from this object class. Okay, so for instance, if I have the bank account class, it inherits from the object, and from the bank account itself is a superclass to checking account and savings account. Now, for the string class, this is a class that is already defined in the Java library system, and it inherits from the object class. Is the PowerPoint visible for you? Can you all see the PowerPoint? Okay, perfect. So the object class now has a couple of methods that are very useful for us. These methods are the toString method. Okay, the toString method. This is how it looks like. It returns an output of type string. It has another method that is called equals. It compares two objects together and returns true if the two objects are the same, and false if they are not the same. And we have also the method that is called clone, that returns an output of type object, and cloning means in general making a copy. Okay, so it says here it's a good idea to override these methods in your classes. Now let's first take one by one. The first method is the toString method. So here we go to our Eclipse. Okay. Now where am I? I'm in the test class that has a main method. Okay, and here where we have tested the inheritance classes, the bank account, the savings account, and the checking account, and we have also shown how we convert from superclass to how we convert between superclasses and subclasses, and we have also demonstrated the polymorphism and inheritance. In the same class as well, I will be now demonstrating the cosmic superclass. So here we are. Cosmic superclass methods. Okay. Here we go. Now, let's first explore the methods of the object class. If I declare now a variable, an instance object of type object, so here we go, object obj for instance 2 equals new object. So now I have created a variable, an instance variable called object2 of type object. Now if I say of obj2 dot, here we are. I'm going to see now the equals method, the toString method, and the clone method as well is there. However, it is not visible here because it is declared as protected in the object class. We will tackle this in a while. Okay. So let's first go to the toString method. Now, what is the toString here? The toString method means it's a string representation of the object. What does it mean? If I just call the method toString, it will return some description of my class. Okay? How does this description look like? It is already written as default in the Java library class system this way. Here, the toString method, I'm saying obj2.toString, and the toString method returns what? It returns, as you can see here, it returns an output of type string. So either I receive it in a variable of type string and then I print it, or I can just print it right away. Here we go, system.out.println. Now I need to see the description of obj2. Here we go. If I run it now, you can see the output here. Testing the cosmic superclass, this is where we are now. And here, this is the description of the object obj2. What is that? It says that the class type is called object. It is stored in the library java.lang. And what is this number? This is called hash code. Okay, so the description is exactly the name of the class plus the hash code of the class. What is the hash code? The hash code is a number, okay, that shows the location of the object in the memory. The memory is a big space. However, and this space can be divided into different locations. Each location has an address. This address is called hash code. So is this clear for everyone? Is this clear? Is this clear? Okay, perfect. Now, what about if I want to call it also by default? I can omit the toString class. I mean here the toString method can be omitted, and still you can have the same thing. Here we go again. obj2. If I print it now, what does it print? It will print the same thing. Now, how come? Actually, by default, whenever I print my object, okay, whenever I print my object, this means that I'm passing here, I'm calling the println method, and I'm passing my object. It will call by default the toString method. So whether you call it or you don't call it, it will be called actually by default. Okay. Now, what about my other accounts that we have already declared? For instance, the bank account, the savings account. Here we go. I can also print them. So, as we already said, this toString method is already inherited in all Java subclasses, right? Right. If I declare now a bank account, ACC, and then I print it, here we go. I can either call the toString or not call it. So if I say toString now, okay. What about the savings account? I'm declaring a new variable of type savings account. I'm constructing, this variable is referring to a new object of type savings account that has an interest rate of 10. And now I'm printing the savings account, which is called SACC.toString. Okay. Have you noticed something? I can easily call the .toString. Why? Because here we go. This is it has here the get balance. Where the get balance did come from? Now I'm in a variable called SACC, which of type savings account. Is the get balance inherited or declared in the savings account? It is inherited. What about the toString? It is inherited from the class bank account. The toString is inherited from the class object. The add interest is already declared in the savings account. The deposit is inherited from the bank account. You see, it's already written here beside it where this method is actually declared. Okay, and same for transfer. It's from bank account. What else? Where is the equals? Here we go. The equal is inherited from where? From the bank account as well. Okay, just a second because I have to comment a couple of things here. Just a second. Now we go back to our file. If I say again SACC dot, okay, where is the equals declared? It is inherited from the object class, and the toString is also inherited from the object class. Okay, so I will call now the toString method. Here we go. Same for checking account. Again, checking account CACC equals new checking account. It has a deposit of 2,000, or it has actually a balance of 2,000. So I will call now the CAC.toString. Okay, so since the toString method is inherited from the object class, so it will print actually the description of the class in the way it has been already defined in the Java class library. How does it look like again? It's the class name plus the hash code of this class. So we shall run it now. Here we go. You see? Bank account and the hash code, then savings account and the hash code, and then checking account and the hash code. So is this clear for everyone? Is this clear? Everyone following? Okay. So now what we need to do, what about if I want to change the string representation of my class? In other words, instead of printing the class name and its memory location, I just need to see the following. For instance, for the bank account, please print that it is a bank account and the balance of this bank account. For the savings account, print the balance and the interest rate. For the checking account, just print the balance. Can we do that? Yes, we can. How? We go to my bank account class, and instead of using the toString that has been inherited from the object, I redefine it. How do we redefine a method that is already inherited from the superclass? By overriding it. So here we go. I will just write it, public string toString, okay, and that's it. This is how it is written in my object class. Since it returns an output of type string, I have to return an output of type string. In the object class, it returns what? It returns the class name plus its hash code. In my case now, I need a different representation, so I will just say return. Okay, it returns a string. Class name, which I'm in class called bank account, so return that this is a bank account. Okay, dash, and then tell me what is the balance. So here we go, plus. How do we get the balance? I just call my variable balance. That's it. Okay, then plus. Do we need anything else? No. Maybe I can put this into brackets like that. Here, bank account, and then square brackets again, and that's it. Okay. I leave some space here. So once I call the toString method, it will return what? It would return something called bank account, and the balance is equal to the value of the balance. The same we can apply for the savings account. Okay. So again, I'm overriding it here. But instead of saying this is a bank account, you see I'm in savings account class. So I will say here, so this is a savings account. Okay. The balance is equal. Now, what about the balance here? Do I have a variable called balance, or is it already declared as private in the bank account? It is already declared as private in the bank account. So what is the solution? The solution is to call the method that accesses the balance, which is called here getBalance. Okay, so getBalance. Okay, and that's it. What about the interest? Okay, tell me what is the interest as well. Interest rate plus, okay, here we go. What is the variable for the interest rate? It's called here, do you remember? It's called here interest rate. Okay, can I access it? Yes, because it is already declared in the savings account class here. So I'll just type the variable interest rate. Okay, that's it. And this bracket is again a string, so I need to put a plus here and a quotation. Okay, that's it. What about the checking account. In the checking account, I will also need to just print the balance. Again, here we are. This is the checking account. Just need to print the balance to return the balance. So here we go. Now, instead of bank account, this is actually a checking account. And I'm returning now the balance. I don't have variable called balance here. It is not visible. Okay, but I can call the method that's named getBalance, and that's it. Now we can see our representation here. We go to the test2 again, and now let's print it. You see, in the beginning it has printed the name of the class and its hash code. Now I have overridden the toString method, and they are already declared now in each of the subclasses: bank account, savings account, and checking account. So if I call the toString method, which one will it call? It will call the toString method of the subclass, not of the superclass, which is the object. Now let's print it again. Here we go. You see, for the bank account, it returns the balance of 1,000. For the savings account, the balance is 0, interest rate is 10%. For the checking account, the balance is 2,000. Okay? So the toString method is very actually useful. Again, I can, as I told you before, I can omit the toString here. I will omit it on only one, and I will print it. Again, it will call the overridden toString method. Okay? Everyone's following? Everyone's following? Okay, perfect. So I think this is clear enough for us. Now let's go to the equals method. So the second method that is inherited from the object class is the dot equals method. Here, okay. So now we're testing dot equals methods. Now, what is the equals? Actually, the equals, as we said before, it compares two objects together. If they are the same object, it will return true. If not, it will return false. Now, here's an example. Now, remember we have already declared here object 2, right? Now, let's declare another object called object 3. Okay. Equals new object. And what I will do right now is I will first print object the presentation, the string representation of object 2 and object 3, just for you to see it in front of you. Okay? So far, nothing new. Here we go. Testing the equals method. First object is called object. It has a hash code of this one, and the second object is also of type object, and this is its hash code. Okay, so obj2 and obj3. Okay, now are these objects the same? Yes or no? Are these objects the same? Yes or no? Exactly. I can only see a one mark of no. What about the rest? They're not the same, of course, because there are two objects constructed in the memory, and both have different memory locations or different hash codes, right? So we can go here and test that. If obj3 dot equals, here we go. Now the dot equals method indicates whether some object is equal to this one. Okay? So what does it take? It takes a variable of type object as well, and it returns true or false based on the comparison. So what I will say that it equals obj3. So if obj2 equals obj3, what shall I do? I will just say system.out.println equal, else print what? Not equal. Okay? not equal. So can we run that? Yes, both, as you said, they are not equal. Okay, what about if I do the same for the bank accounts? Again, the bank account or the checking or the savings, they all inherit the equals method. So I can do the same for the rest. This is another example here. Now I'm declaring a bank account called AC2, okay? This is declaring a new object in the memory that has a balance of 1000. I'm declaring another object or another variable, okay, called AC3 of type bank account, and it's referring to a new object in the memory that again has a balance of 1000. Okay, now my question is, are these two accounts the same? Are these two accounts the same? Let's see. I will do the same comparison here again, but now with ACC2 and ACC3. Okay. Now, I haven't seen any answers so far. Are these two objects the same, the ACC2 and the ACC3? Same objects? Okay, I have someone who's saying yes and others who are saying no. Now let's explain it. Okay, the one who's saying yes, you are right in certain part, because you are comparing what? You are comparing the balances actually. So yes, in terms of balances, they have the same balance. However, are they the same object? No, they are not actually. And I can show it to you here in the PowerPoint. It's okay, forget about that this is the coin class. Imagine that this is the bank account. So it's actually the same. It's as if what I did now is as if I have two objects in the memory. Coin 1, in our case, is called ACC1, ACC2, and the other is ACC3. This one is referring to a new object, and this one is referring to a new object. Okay? Both have the same values. For it has the same name as quarter. It has the same value of 0.25. However, there are two different objects in the memory. So this means that they have two different references. Again, what is a reference? A reference is the memory location, which is the hash code. So if I now say, please compare them, it will actually give me false. They're not equal. Here we go. Now, first bank account, it's balanced. You remember why does it look like that? Because the string representation is overridden to the one I have written. So the balance is 1000, the balance is 1000, and still they are not equal. Again, why not equal? Because if I go back to the bank account and I comment, I remove here the Tostring method. I'm just removing it, okay? And I go to the test2, and if I print it, you see, first bank account, this is the one, it has a different memory location or hash code than this one. So it's comparing actually the hash codes, not the contents of the classes, okay? So I'll go back now, and I will remove what I have done here. Now the Tostring is back to us. Now, what if I want to compare, now up to this point, is it clear, everyone? Is it clear? Even for the ones who said no, that it will print equal. Is it clear? Okay. Now, what if I want actually not to compare the objects as references, but I want to compare the contents? In this case, I need to go to my bank account class and override the dot equals, the equals method. How do we override it? Okay. Now, in my case here, I need to compare the contents. What is the content of each bank account class? The main content is the balance. So I will just write here the equals method as it is defined in the Java library in the object class. So public boolean, okay, equals. This method takes a variable of type object. Here we go. Okay, and that's it. Now, what do we need to compare now? Do we need to compare the references, or we need to compare the contents? We need to compare the contents. In this case, it is the balance. So, here we go. If what the balance, which is the balance of this class, where are we? We are in the bank account class, and we have a variable called balance. So if the balance here is equal to, remember I need to use the equal sign is here, double equal, okay? If the balance is equal to, okay, the balance of the accounting object, which is obj.balance. Okay, now I have a problem. Can I say obj.getBalance? No. Why? I need an answer here, please. Can I say obj.getBalance, something like that? Can I do that? I need an answer. We need typecasting. Exactly, Umniya. Perfect answer. Perfect answer. OBJ does not have getBalance, okay, method. Who has the getBalance method? It is the subclass, which is the bank account. Can we convert a superclass to a subclass? No. However, in order to do that, we have to do explicit the casting, which is, I need to do first the following. I need to say that OBJ must be of type first bank account. Okay, bank account, okay. And this one, assign it to a variable called AC, for instance, of type bank account. Here we go. So what I did now, I took the variable that is being passed here in the method, which is called OBJ. OBJ is of type object. Now, in order to make OBJ of type bank account, I need to do the casting. Here we go. How do we do the casting? I already explained it last time. We write the class that we want to my object to cast to between brackets here, bank account, okay, and this one is stored in a variable, of course, of type bank account. Now, can I say AC dot get balance? Yes, of course, because it's of type what? It's of type bank account. Okay, so if the balance is equal to the balance, this one is written, okay, then please return true. That's it. Okay, and here we go. So we are done now. So return true, okay? Now, can we do that in one sentence? Yes, actually we can. I can just simply say return, instead of doing that in two statements, I can just simply say return, okay, here. That's it. Okay, we said return true, or because it's not yet complete, by the way. It has an else, oops, else return false, right? So here we go. Now this thing can be actually reduced into one sentence. I will comment it right now, but now you understand the concept. I will just say return balance equals get balance. That's it. This statement itself will return true if they are equal, and it will return false if they are not equal. Is this clear, everyone? Is this clear? Okay, perfect. So I will go now to my test, and let's see if they are equal now. Here we go. Now I'm printing. You see, First bank account is of type bank account, and its balance is 1,000, and the balance is 1,000, and they are both equal. Now it's printing equal. Okay, so now if I want to compare the contents, then I have to override the equal method. Now just one important comment. We know that these two bank accounts, they are referring to different objects, although they have the same contents. If you want again to compare also the hash code, so a recommendation here in the equals method, you also have, don't forget also, you can also compare the hash code of the two objects by overriding the hash code method. This is just an aside note. This means that you can compare the contents. If you want to compare the hash code, then you can override it and also compare the hash code. How do we do that? You don't need to go into the details, but just know this note, okay? So any questions so far? Any questions so far? Okay, perfect. Now, if I go to test 2 again, one last thing in the equals. So what if I say here in this part, this is important. Okay, let's actually define another variable, total new variable. If I say, for instance, object x equals null. Now I want to compare the x. So I will just here write system dot out dot println comparing objects with null reference. Now, if I say, can I say, oh, if x dot equals x, you see, I'm doing that. I'm comparing the object with itself. So it should print equal, of course, right? Now, this is a very important trick, and you're always asked about that in exams. If I'm comparing an object with itself, it will return equal always, unless this object has a null reference. So if I print it now, here we go. You see, comparing objects with null reference, there is an exception. Why? Because when we call the dot equals method, it actually compares, as we said, memory locations with memory locations. In this case, it doesn't have even a location. It has a null reference. So in that case, it will not print actually equal. Okay. So in the PowerPoint here, one of the important self-checks, and I told you before that the self-checks are extremely important, okay, because they are very similar to exam questions. Should the call x dot equals x always return true? It certainly should, unless of course x is null. Okay, is this clear for everyone? Everyone's following? Okay. Finally, we will now test the clone method. What is the clone method again? The clone method is inherited from the object class. Here we go. The clone method. Now we are testing the clone method. What is cloning? It's making a copy of the object. So if I say now bank account equals new bank account and it has initial balance of 1,000, and then I say bank account 2 equals account, and then account 2 dot deposit 500. Now please note the following: account is referring to a new object that has a balance 1,000. Question, is account2 referring to a new object of type bank account? Or is it referring to the same object that is called account? Okay, again, is account2 referring to a new object in the memory? I need an answer here. Is account2 referring to a new object in the memory? Yes. Omnia referring to the same, Noor referring to the same, Muruj is saying yes. Okay. Okay, we have actually discussed this topic last session, and please girls, I told you need to revise the session. You need to understand what we have explained before, because we cannot explain this every time. Again, now when I say new bank account, this means that I'm constructing a new object in the memory. Okay? The keyword here is where new. Please learn it by heart. Whenever you see the keyword new, then this means you are referring to a new object. You are constructing a new object in the memory. Now, if I'm saying and who is referring to this object? A variable called account of type bank account. Now, I'm declaring another variable called account2 of type again bank account. I haven't said here Muruj new account, new bank account. Okay? All what I said it is that it is equal to account. So this means what? This means that it is referring to the same object. And now if I want to test the balance, what should be the balance here? What should be the balance of account? First, what is the balance of account? So I need an answer. What is the balance? And please concentrate. Remember that I said account2 equals account, so it's referring again to the same object. And then I said account2 dot deposit 500. So what is the balance of first of the object account? Okay, someone is saying 500, Muruj is saying 1000. What about 1500? 1500, here we go. And what is the balance of account2? Again, it is 1500. Girls, you need to, yes, it is 1500 for account2 and it is 1500 for account. You need to understand this very well because this is always a tricky question in exams. Here we go. You see, this is our case here. Okay, I don't know. Okay, now actually if I can draw it here, you know this, how does it look like? I think I have here already a graph that I have drawn with it for you. It's this one. Okay, you know how does it look like? How does this look like? It's exactly as the savings account example that we have discussed before. Here we go. I have now a variable called account and another variable called account2. Okay, I don't have these ones. This is the object in the memory of type bank account. Okay, and I have a balance of 1000. Here we go. So again, we go to our code and we see that bank account equals new bank account. So go to the memory and construct an object of type bank account with a balance of 1000. And who is referring to this object? A variable called account. And this is what we have done. The bank account is constructed in the memory. It has its hash code in the memory. It has a balance of 1000. And who is referring to that? Account. Now, declare another variable called account2 of type bank account, and this one is equal to account. Now when I say an object is equal to an object, this means that this object is referring, or this variable is referring to the same reference of the other object, or referring to the same object. So okay, so account2 is equal to account, which means it refers to the same object. Okay, so when I say account2 dot deposit 500, so it will go here to the same object and it will add 500. So if I want to print the balance of account2, it will be 1,500. Of account, it will be 1,500. So here we go. If I now printed system.out.println, okay, AC account 2 dot get balance plus here another space, I will say account 2 here. Okay, this should be account, and here this is account 2, account 2 dot get balance. Okay, and this is account 1. Now we can print them. Print. Here we go. Oh, if you got to now, I will just comment that because it's causing a runtime exception. The X is null. Okay. Then we print it. Now, you see, account 1 is 1,500 and account 2 is 1,500. Is that clear, everyone? Please don't make a mistake if you're asked about these questions. This should be clear now. Again, is it clear for everyone? What about, okay, Zahra, is it clear for you, Zahra? And Zahra Abdi, okay? Aisha, Osman, are you there? Is it clear for you? Hafsa? Okay. So now, what we can do is, okay, now, what if I want actually to have two variables or two instances, account2, account, and account2? I need both to refer to different objects and again have the same values. So in that case, I will have to do it that way. Account2, okay. In that case, I will say, for instance, let's declare one, for instance, account 3, bank account 3 equals new bank account. This one has a balance of 200, for instance, and bank account 4 equals new bank account with the same balance, which is 200. Okay. Now, in this case, what did I do? I actually created two objects, and both objects have the same contents. Now, what is if I want to print the balance of account 3? What is it? What is it? Balance of account 3? It is 200 exactly, and for account 4 again it is 200. And they are two different objects. They are what? They are two different objects in the memory. Now, instead of doing that, a shortcut would be for copying objects would be, I would say, copying object contents. In order to be more accurate, you can use the clone method. And how do you say it? So I would say just here, bank account, if I want to clone account 3, bank account cloned account equals account 3 dot clone, and that's it. And that's it. And then the cloned account will be just a copy of account 3. Okay? Now I have a problem here actually. You see there is an error. Why is this error? It says the method. Okay, one more thing. The clone method returns an object. So I need this object to be of type bank account. So I need to do here again casting. Okay, so this is the first problem. Now, the second problem is the method clone from the type object is not visible. Why is it not visible? Because the clone method is actually declared as protected in the object class. So I cannot just easily say account.clone. It is inherited, however, I cannot see it. It is inherited, I cannot see it. How can I use it then? By going to the bank account class again, and if I want to use the clone method, you need to use the clone method. You need to do what? You need to override it and declare it as public in order for you to be able to see it. Okay? So I will comment that. This issue, here we go. For the cloning. If in case I want to here, as I said here, for the bank account and the clone account. Now these are two different objects, they're having the same balance, so you can use in that case the cloning. But again, so and here we go, bank account cloned account equals bank account account.clone. Why do you need to cast it? Because a clone returns a type of object and it has to be casted now to bank account. The problem now is that the clone, okay, does not systematically clone all sub-objects. The method object.clone does not systematically clone all objects, sub-objects or subclasses. It must be used with caution. Okay, why is it not accessible? Because it is declared as protected. So whenever you want to use it, you need to redefine it and override it in your class and declare it as public. Okay, if you want to know more information, you can see the section or the topic in your chapter. You can just read how it is being written. That's it. But the concept is there. Now, why Java has chosen to declare clone as protected? Why especially this method? Because of the following. This is a very nice example. Now, imagine that you are in a bank, okay, and you need to create, and you have a class called customer. This customer class has two variables: name, which is of type string, and account, which is of type bank account. Okay. Now, imagine that you clone this customer. You say just customer.clone. It will create another object, okay, in the memory that has also the same name and also referring to the same bank account. You see where the problem is here? It's as if you have created two records or two accounts for the same customer. So this customer can actually withdraw money more than he deserves. And in that case, we will have conflict in our bank accounts. So the object.clone can create shallow copies. What do I mean by shallow copies? So whenever I want to edit the customer account, I might be editing this one, but forgetting that one. And in another case, I might be editing that one, but forgetting that one, because both are not referring to the same object. So that's why it says, please use the clone method with caution, and that's why it is already declared as protected. Is it clear for everyone? Is it clear? Okay. No? Who said no? Noor. Okay, what's again Noor? Which part is not clear? Which part is not clear? No, can you write in the room itself? Because I can. Noor, are you there? Can you write in why is it, which part is not clear? ليش نستخدمها بحذر؟ Okay, ماشي. Okay, why do we need to use it carefully and why do we need to use it with caution? Okay, first, how Java did it enforce us to use it with caution? It has already declared it as protected. So I cannot just call it by saying the class name, for instance, like as we did account2.clone, and that's it. No. It said it will be declared as protected. And in order for you to use it, go to your class, redefine it, say what you want to clone, and declare it as public. Okay. Now, why is it dangerous to use the clone method? We will use here a real-life example. Imagine you are in a bank, okay? And you have a class called customer. A class called customer that has two variables, the variable name and the variable account. The variable name is of type string. The variable account is of type bank account. Okay? And now I need to create an object of this customer. So I will say customer, for instance, C1 equals new customer. Okay? This customer has a name, for instance, called Noor, and it has an account with a balance of 1,000. Now I will go, since if the clone method is now accessible to everyone, I will just clone it and say C1.clone, okay, and store it in another account, in another object called C2. So I might have now C1 and C2. Both are referring to the same customer name, to the same account balance, okay, but they are two different objects in the memory. So now when the accountant in the bank is working and is dealing with Noor's account. So if he wants to deposit some money in Noor's, he can go to C1 or to C2. Okay, which one? Now we have shallow copies. Why does it mean shallow copies? One is hiding the other one. If he goes to C1, he will edit the object C1. But since both are two different objects in the memory, so he will be only editing one account. But if he edits C1, if he goes to C2, he will be only editing C2. So now what happens? There will be conflicts or data mismatch in Noor's account. Sometimes it's edited using C1 and sometimes it's editing using C2. Okay, Noor, if you remember, we said here, when you clone, you make two different objects. You say that they have the same contents but two different objects. So when you edit them, you need to make sure that you are editing the right one. Okay? But if you don't use the clone and you say that this account is equal to this one, as we did in our example here, this one, when I say account equals account 2, both are referring to the same object. So whenever I edit in account or account 2, I'm editing in the same object. So is it clear now, Noor? Okay, perfect. So now one last thing I forgot to tell you about actually here. So the clone method is now done. I forgot something to tell you about the equals method. Now when I compared here, if AC when I declare two accounts, AC2 and AC3 both have the same balance, okay? And I said that if I want to compare the contents, then please go and override the equal method. Now what if now, after override the equal method, I still need to make sure if both accounts have the same hash code or not? Can we do that? Yes. So if I go here and say if you want to compare, to check if the both variables have the same hash code. In other words, i.e., they refer to the same object. In that case, you use the equal sign. So don't use the equals, because the equals is already overwritten. So we just say if ACC2 equals AC3. If it is equal, then this means that referring to the same object or not referring to the same object, okay? And do you remember, actually these are two accounts, two different objects in the memory. They are not referring to the same object, however, they have the same content. So now if I test it here, first bank account, it has the balance of 1,000, the second has 1,000. They are equal in terms of what? In terms of contents, but they are not referring to the same object. Okay? I think so far we are clear. Also in the PowerPoint, it has mentioned the equals method using the coin class. Here we go. Okay, in case of the coin class, you remember we need to compare the contents. So the coin class had two important variables, the value of the coin and the name of the coin. So in this case, if you want to compare the contents, you will compare two variables. How do we do that? Very easy. So it will return if the name is equal, the other object dot name, and the value is equal to the dot value. Now make sure if you are comparing two strings, you use what? The equals. If you are comparing two numbers, whether double or integer, so you're using the double equal sign. Please note that these things are very important for you. Don't forget them. Okay? So far we are done with this part. Any questions? Any questions? Okay.